Good evening, Sharks fam. Welcome to tonight's edition of Pucknology After Dark. Tonight we are going to discuss the Sharks' 4-1 victory over the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Sharks' captaincy controversy, Joe Thornton going down to the AHL, the Sharks moving to San Francisco, Chris Borland, could he be in an NHL circumstance? And plenty more with AJ Strong and Chris JWS. Guys, good evening to you.
What it is.
Going on? What it do?
What to do? So the Sharks win 4-1 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sure, no big surprise. Sure, it was Toronto. Sure, they're tanking for McDavid, yada, yada, yada. But we saw the big guys step up tonight. After a rough first period on the power play, the Sharks finally got on the power play goal. I mean, there's things that we could pick out, but overall, this was a decent win for the team that's trying to claw back into the playoff picture.
Yeah, it was a fucking Leafs. Okay. I mean,
good night, everybody.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, it was, as in the words of Hannah, it was the fucking Leafs. Yeah. It was the Leafs, and they went 0 for 3 on the power play to start off the game. How do you go? Oh, and now they did have a couple decent looks, but 0 for 3, 1 for 5 overall. They did, they did kill Toronto's power play chances, if you want to call it that. But we're not blowing anybody just yet. It's that power play was still haphazard, to say the least. It's still incredibly inefficient, and if it wasn't Toronto, if it was somebody else with a decent kill, chances are they probably would have went 0 for on the power play. It's at the end of the road. At this point, we're talking about 12 games left, and to have a hope in hell, they have to essentially win out. Maybe they can only lose maybe one more game, and it can't be. Chances are it won't be that one to LA. So, Chris, knock yourself out.
I agree with you to some extent with the power play. I think it got better after the first 2 attempts. And the last one, in spite of not scoring, did produce some good chances. I'm liking more and more what I'm seeing out of the second unit, although I mentioned this, and I would really like to see Vlasic not on the second unit and put Irwin on there instead. Yes, Vlasic's a better player, but Irwin is a much better offensive player. He could probably, especially the way he's playing right now. He's playing probably the best we've seen him since he debuted, 2 years ago. I'd really like to see him on there more. I think that would probably give even more punch to the second unit. It's funny how much more dangerous the second unit has looked in recent times, in spite of, I think, scoring 1 time since January. Mm-hmm. But they have created more chances. And like AJ said, it is the Leafs. I've said in the past, give them credit because these are the teams that they seem to, bow against and just completely go in the tank against. But I'm done giving them credit for that. Like, when they're sitting at 8% chance to make the playoffs, you don't get any credit for beating a bad team. Zip 0. Talk to me when you win a few more, and even then, it's still a long uphill battle. They're going to need pretty much every game to get points or win.
Yeah, I mean, they move up, and we'll have the standings for you in due time with all the games going on live right now. We'll add this because I forgot to mention it.
Go Philadelphia.
Go Philly, which is not looking too good. Winnipeg tied it, so they're going to overtime, or they're in overtime right now. To be a part of the show, this is your call-in post-game show that you haven't seen since 2000. To be part of it, use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark. You can tweet any of us, me, Puckeye14, AJ_Strong, at ChrisJWS. Jenny Alexander46 is on a working scratch, so he's not participating tonight. although he's very happy about the win, I'm sure. And of course, the main Twitter handle at Pucknology.
And Calgary just went up 2-0.
So, and probably
Yay!
on this Saturday, I will be drinking scratch as I celebrate my 30th birthday.
Oh, welcome to the Dirty 30s.
Dirty 30! Very nice.
I'm going to be old like you guys.
Yeah, whatever. So, talk about... Go ahead, DJ.
Just looking at the shots, I know that they were up 21-8 after the first period. So it took them one period to get off 21 shots and then 2 periods to get off another 21 shots. Not exactly keeping your foot on the gas per se. I would have liked to have seen them try some different things, at least leading up for what they plan to do on Saturday. But I have to ask Chris, because he seems to be the one in the know. Will we, in fact, see the amazing skill set and speed of the Scots, John and Hannon, on Saturday?
Honestly, I'm betting. I'll bet almost anything they'll inject at least one of the two into the lineup, because that seems to be the thing McClellan loves to do. It's like he'll put the all-skill lineup out there. Did we have any goons out there? Do you have any dead weight out there tonight? No, it was all guys who can skate and who can handle the puck. But whenever they do that, they always seem to win in those circumstances. And inevitably, the next game, McClellan back, you know what we need? We need to put John Scott and Scott Hannon out there. We need to slow the pace down. I think this is particularly aggravating, last month when we did that right leading the LA Kings game. Like, against Dallas, I think it was, correct me if my memory's wrong, against Dallas, that hurdle line, I forget who else was on there, I think Tierney was. They went and broke that up the very next game against the Kings and injected Scott into the lineup, and, well, that line became dead weight.
So against the outdoor game.
I'm fully expecting one of those guys in the lineup, if not both, against Montreal, because it's an important game, and what we do in important games, we put our worst players out there.
And don't think that Montreal isn't going to have it out for the Sharks after the shellacking the Sharks dished on them just a couple short weeks ago. At that point, remember, Carey Price was 10-0-1 on his last 11 road games coming into the tank and got embarrassed. So I'm quite sure Montreal is definitely going to be looking to put their best skate forward. The one thing, go ahead.
I was going to say, and they need it because they're in a tight race in the Atlantic with Tampa, and then overall with the Rangers for the top spot in the East.
Yeah, and it's funny. Hannah brought it up in the chat window to Chris's point about that game against Dallas. Of course, the guy who was really key in that, Desi scoring 2 goals, of course, is no longer a Shark. But one of the things I wanted to touch on was in the pregame, Curtis and Brody did kind of a breakdown of the top 5 rookies, or at least ranking the top 5 rookies for the Sharks this year. Interestingly enough, number 2 isn't on the squad right now. He's not called up. He's still in the woo for some reason, and it was Matt Tennyson. And when you look at a team who is, I love that Curtis Brown's referred to the Sharks having a logjam at defense. I don't know what team Curtis Brown is watching. I really don't. But
I think he's getting it confused with his junior Sharks.
That might, in fact, be the case.
Well,
not
could
sure
be logjam, heavy-footed Scott Hannon.
Maybe, but I'm just wondering why Matt, why Tenny isn't getting. Clearly, if Mueller pissed somebody off because of his flub or whatnot, why not? I mean, maybe it's an option that they can't put Mueller back down without there being some sort of a penalty or whatnot.
Right now, they can't send him to Worcester because of his age. They could send everything I read. They can send him to Everett if they really want to, and I guess there is a bit of a debate. What could he learn there versus what he could learn in the AHL? But that's not an option. And I'm fine with him keeping up with the big club, but keep suiting him up. I was kind of irked the other
Absolutely.
night when they sat him for he played an all-around good game against the Blackhawks, I thought, except for that one mistake, and it was a costly one. But he's a young player. Get him the season's lost. Let's just I know Eric is Mr. Optimist, but let's be real. The season is just about over. Their chances of making the playoffs are under 10% at this point, unless they go on a historic tear. So let's get the guys who need seasoning. Let's get them that seasoning.
Yeah, it would be nice to see the Sharks make history the correct way this time.
No, Sharks don't do that.
Yeah, like make history like you did in '94, not like you did last year. But I digress.
But I'll make this point. They had a long road trip near the end of the year, and they went on I think it was like 7 in a row without a loss, and that's how they were able to leapfrog Anaheim and LA, who were above them most of the time in the end of the season, and they clinched the playoff spot with a couple of games left. It's feasible, and I think they need to show more of the inspiration that the '94 team has. But
yeah, I'm taking out a second mortgage and running to Vegas to bet on this. Yeah. So anyhow.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were that loaded.
I'm sorry. I do try to be realistic about this, but yeah, when all the probabilities say it's under 10%, probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
If they tear off 5 in a row, maybe they're back in the picture. But for now.
Now, how do you? Let's talk about a couple things. First off, the Tarasov call up. I'll take him over Scott. I think any day of the week. Now, another thing though that we should note, if in fact these are the actual, you want to call them a first, second, and third line, where of course the first line is Jumbo, Pabs, and Carlson, but the second line, Nieto, Couture, and Wingels. I got to keep saying that I'm not buying what Nieto's selling at this point. He just keeps reminding me too much of Torrey Mitchell. A lot of speed, just doesn't have the hands yet, and maybe that'll come. But right now, I'm thinking he needs to be a third line guy. I would have preferred to have seen Marleau, Couture, and Wingels at that point. I think they got to bust Nieto down. The third line, of course, being all centers. Patrick Marleau, Chris Tierney, and Tomas Hertl, because Wilson loves his centers. The Sharks are essentially half centers.
And don't forget, because when they cheat on the first time around and get kicked out of the faceoff circle, you have another guy to go in. By the way,
it didn't help them tonight much. They needed to cheat a little better.
Well, yeah, no kidding.
Face-off were 28-26 in favor of Toronto. Just throwing that up.
And here's my thinking. How many games has Tomas Hertl played at center since they traded Shepard away because Hertl will be a center?
Well, I'm going to go with 0 on that one, Alex.
What? I think didn't he start at 1 at center? Or I think he played some center, but whichever way, not many.
I don't believe he started at center. I think it was a case of the Sharks look like shit, and so the intermission adjustments or whatever, they started the second period with Hertl centering the third line or whatnot, or the fourth line. Either way, it didn't last for very long. To me, if it's not a start, then it really doesn't count. So.
It depends. I think if you take over 10 draws, I have to go back and look, see if he did. That's what I would say. If you take 10-plus draws, you essentially play center for the game. Although, there's plenty of games where Pavelski and Thornton both take 10-plus, but that's also because of the heavy deployment of that line. So on Nieto, though, one thing I would say in his defense, dude has been so unlucky, every time. And numbers back it up, too. He does a lot of good things. He gets a lot of shots, and drives play, which, if he's got scores around him, that helps. But I think he's definitely better than Torrey Mitchell. But time will tell. Chris Tierney, how awesome is he? That pass, he was 10 out of 14 on face-off tonight. So if we're talking rookies, he's probably, if I would probably put Carlson first. Tennyson second, and right after that, Chris Tierney is the guy who impressed me the most. And I'd almost put him up there with Tennyson in some ways.
No, I'm digging what I'm seeing from Tierney right now. Guy seems to be.
I think he's got a top 6 future, just from what we've seen so far. He looks like he might be that second line center guy.
It could be at the very least. Yeah, no, he's definitely third cup, potentially second. He definitely has more talent. But the thing that I'm enjoying out of Tierney is he has a hustle that reminds me of Mark Smith. A centerman who didn't have all the talent in the world, but had more heart than most of the guys on the team. So that's not something you can coach. So I'm enjoying that.
Tierney has been, he's, like I've tweeted before, he's shown the passion and the fire that this team absolutely needs. Something
in the hands and playmaking ability.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of passion, we talked about how the Jets are quote-unquote fueled by passion. They just won their game in a shootout, 2-1. So that hurts the Sharks pretty badly. Going through the other scores right now, Calgary is up 2-1 after 2 periods on Philadelphia. The Canucks and Blue Jackets are a donut hole sister kisser at the moment after 1 period of play.
Never use that phrase again.
Donut hole sister kisser?
Yeah, never use that phrase again.
0-0. Have you guys never heard of a sister kisser?
Never use that again.
No, that's okay, dude. You
keep that to yourself.
Do you have like a sound effect, AJ, of like a trash can lid slamming shut?
No,
like the wrestling paper or whatever, something like that. Yeah, no, that one goes in the trash. Removing that one from the vocabulary. Now we move on.
Oh boy.
All right. Speaking of moving on.
Yes, moving on. We'll talk
moving
about.
on. I hear something happened tonight. Like some heartless player got like an assist or two. Or
yes, Joe Thornton with
obviously didn't care.
With assist number 900. He is getting up there with the assists, guys. I mean,
18th in league history, one back of time for 17th all time.
Behind Brian Trottier, correct?
I don't think it's in the show notes, but I think that's correct.
I believe that's what we saw on there before. So, I mean, let's discuss.
Yeah, well, just imagine how many points, and assists. Imagine how many assists Thornton would have if he played in the AHL. I think it says Milbury has Thornton on his AHL fantasy team. I think that's what it is.
Oh, man, he'd be an AHL all-timer if he played in there.
He'd be the Gretzky of AHLers if that was the case.
And for
those
anyone
who's wondering what we're talking about, if you didn't hear, Mike Milbury suggested sending Joe Thornton to the AHL. The fact that we're even talking about this, honestly, that's... Like, I've heard Sharks fans say stupid things. Like, the stupidest things I've heard from fans don't even come close to that from Mike Milbury. It really doesn't. Because, we're fans. We do share dumb things. I've said dumb things. But, dude, you're on TV.
Is that a prereq? Is it like a prereq to work for NHL and NBC to just be real dopey and stupid and say dumb shit about the Sharks? I mean, now it's like, okay, we have now every time we talk about Marlowe, we hashtag it gutless whenever it's mentioned on NBC. Now it's anytime they talk about Thornton, we're just going to have to hashtag it AHL. Or it's hashtag send them down. Send them down.
That's all-timer right there in terms of stupid. I can't think of many things I've heard said by any talking head in any sport that matches up to that. Like, I'm raking my brain. I can't think of much more. I mean, Skip Bayless thinks that's absurd.
And it's not like Milbury has a history of making dumb comments. Oh, wait.
Look at his GM record. The thing did a great article where their intro basically said, hey, Mike Milbury, the greatest GM ever, and just a little rundown of his history as a GM, which was brilliant.
Go
look it up. Go to Fear the Fin. Take a look at it.
Let's not forget he traded Roberto Luongo to Florida because he had Rick DiPietro waiting in the wings to
No,
lead
dude.
the
Talk
Islanders.
talk about the Alexei Yashin deal, dude.
Or let's say how he was head coach and GM, and sometimes he would take nights off behind the bench because he had so many GM duties, and let Rick Bowness coach the fish sticks. I mean, come on,
Oh man,
the
too
fish
good.
sticks. Uh,
No, dude. I still laugh about Alexei Yashin.
that's
Oh,
just
that's
So,
funny.
so anyway, back onto the
Hold,
more positive.
hold on.
Or,
Wait a minute. That actually popped something into my that I reminded me of something I was thinking about the other day. Remember the time when the Sharks seemed to always have at least one, maybe two Russians on the team? When was the last time the Sharks actually had like a Russian on the team? They used to be like really into Euros, and
Tarasov.
now okay, I'm talking one that's like started that that's on the roster for the full time. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about the days of Koryuk and Navi, of course, but it seemed like in the 90s to the late 90s. I don't know if Lombardi was just a big Euro guy, and especially looking at Russia, but man, you just don't see them as part of the Sharks like you near as much as you used to. There's been a big swing to Canadians.
I think that's just the way that they've been scouting lately, and maybe it's just how they're doing. Although they did draft Goldobin, which hopefully soon it'll be Goldobin in future years to come. But I mean, I don't know. They kind of stayed away from like the Russians and the Eastern Europeans in the draft lately, and I don't know. It just seems like they would go for the good Canadian boys, eh?
I think part of it also might be how you distribute your scouting resources, because I mean I imagine that I mean the easiest people to scout are right in your backyard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas also I mean I think it seems like what I've noticed about teams that have Russian players, and just using this one example, they usually have a lot of Russian players, which makes me think that already having that connection probably helps them in scouting, because that those players probably hear about guys back home. Like I believe it's the Red Wings. They have like I think last I heard like 9 or 10 Russians. This might be a year or two old worth of information, but once you kind of have that connection established, it's probably easier to find out about and scout guys over there. Whereas the Sharks, small organization, less resources, probably have an easier time scouting in their backyard, scouting guys in Canada and the U.S. especially. I mean, that'd be my theory.
Yeah, definitely. We will hit up the hashtag one more time. Again, if you want to be part of the show, hashtag Pucknology After Dark, and or at us, Puck914, AJ_Strong, Chris JWS, or Pucknology itself. My next topic, I think we're good on the gaming, right, guys? My next topic is the suddenly surprising rumor on if the Sharks should join the Warriors in San Francisco. The owner of the Warriors, Joe Lacob, was on Yahoo Sports Talk Live with Jim Cozumar, and there was a talk about maybe sharing the rink or sharing the place with the Warriors. Lacob said that it was going to be one built for basketball and two built for concerts. Um, and he goes on about, it will, quote, it will be able to accommodate hockey, but that's not the major goal of it. He further went on, we do talk to the Sharks. They have their own situation. They have to evaluate that. And they have a great home in San Jose. They draw very well. I think they're happy, to be honest with you. I don't see that happening, but could it happen? You never know. You never want to say never. Guys, now I believe the lease agreement with the SAP Center with the Sharks, and mind you, the Sharks also operate the facility themselves. expires the same time that the Warriors would be moving into their Mission Bay Arena in San Francisco. So, your thoughts? Should the Sharks go? And if not, why? Why should they? And if not, why shouldn't they?
This almost sounded like a perfect opportunity for a false dichotomy.
I'm sorry, I'm stealing your bits, guys. I apologize.
No, you know what? There's just no fucking way. Think about how colossally stupid that would be for the Sharks. They essentially own San Jose. They came into to San Jose. They were embraced, like we've talked about before. Back when this team first came in, you can walk a block in San Jose without seeing teal somewhere. Everybody took tremendous pride in this team, even though their third year they were here. It was all over. Even though they had that horrendous record their very first year at the Cow Palace, but there was so much pride in that team. Now you look at it 21, 22 years later, there are businesses downtown, whether it's the Brit or San Pedro, the market, any of that stuff, all the stuff that is along there, along Santa Clara Street and, the little streets just off of it. Those businesses, I would venture to say 30% of them would potentially close because the money, the revenue that they see 41 times plus for every season, it's an incredible, that's an incredible source of revenue. It puts them into the black a lot of the times. So I just can't imagine that. Not to mention the fact that right now the Sharks, if you're a South Bay guy, if you're from San Jose or whatnot, you have a couple of sporting options if you want to support a San Jose team. You have the Sharks, you have the Quakes, San Jose State, SaberCats, okay. But if you stack up the Sharks next to the Quakes or the SaberCats, the Sharks are clearly the top dog of that troop. Do they want to go into San Francisco and be the third banana behind the Giants, behind the Warriors? They may see the revenue may balance out, but they might get some fans take the slack. But I would imagine 20% of the fans that the Sharks have at this point now, they might say, no. One of the reasons why I supported and loved you for all this time is you were the San Jose team. You were my team. Now you're just another San Francisco team? No, fuck off. I'm going to spend my money somewhere else. Go Earthquakes,
Or go Niners or something like that. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah.
So I'll just say this, first and foremost. Well, the Johnny Manziel thing. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to. If they are seriously considering it, which I have my doubts about that, and I'll expand on it in a minute, but if they're seriously considering it, they're going to spend a lot of time looking at revenue projections, putting out feelers, trying to figure out how much it'll cost or make them long term. And I think if they feel it will grow their revenues overall long term, they will probably do it. And part of the issue, I think, is that, as you said, they operate the facility, so they don't just do the Sharks games. They also do all the various concerts and stuff. That's Sharks Sports and Entertainment. One thing to consider there is they're going to see a massive dip in that when the new arena opens, because all the big acts are going to want to play there. They're not going to want to play Oracle. They're not going to want to play SAP Center. They're going to want to play the new hot stadium in town. So all these things kind of come down, again, to money. So I would say that's really what's going to be the deciding factor. I don't think it would work out well for them because I don't see how they could make more money as a tenant. I mean, they are technically a tenant of the SAP Center, but they control it 365 days a year versus 41 days a year. Maybe they might make more hockey revenue, but I don't see how long-term that would make them more money. I doubt it.
Yeah, I can't see them doing it because if it's a case of the Warriors, which we all are assuming are going to control the San Francisco arena that they play in, they're going to take a percentage of those concessions and the parking and all that stuff. Whereas right now, from what I understand, the Sharks, they all bring that stuff in, and of course San Jose would also fight that whole thing. So I can't see that happening. I think if anything, they use the threat. They pull an Oakland Raiders and use the threat of moving to finagle either a better deal out of the city or somehow trying to finance a new arena. I don't know exactly where you do it. Maybe if this whole athletics thing finally, they go, okay, we're finally fucking done with this, then maybe it's a case of you just take that land across Santa Clara Street, which is now VIP parking and some stuff, and maybe that's where you build the new arena while they're still playing in the current one or whatnot, and then you level the current one, and then that's the more parking. But anywho, no, I can't see him moving.
I think you brought up two good points there. Leverage, which I think I forgot about that, but that's a good point. I think it's definitely what that's going to be more than anything. It's going to be leverage to try and get sick. Come on, guys, you need a shiny new arena, because I think they said it's currently the 4th or 5th oldest in the league, although it's still a pretty good arena. I mean, it's not like one of the new fancy ones. I still like it. I think most fans don't have don't really have an issue with it. But the A's, I think, are the other factor there, though. If the A's were, and it's unlikely, were to find a way to get through San Jose, that could change the game for the Sharks, because that would probably cut into their revenue to a large extent. I mean, it would help them in some ways, probably, or it definitely help downtown, but I think that would probably cut into their revenue somewhat and maybe change how they consider should we play an SF or not.
Both of you make... Sorry to cut you off right there. Both of you make valid points. Here's the other thing, too. While you have one rink in downtown San Francisco, they're going to need a... What are you laughing at, AJ?
The fact that you don't know how to spell believing?
Why do you think that was intentional?
Oh, I wasn't sure. Okay.
Getting back to my point, while Mr. Giggles is over there, my point is...
Couldn't resist.
Yeah, whatever. My point is that they would need to find a practice facility of their own. I mean, I'm sure they can skate at the Yerba Buena Center, or they have an ice rink there, but I'm sure it's going to need a lot of help to get it to NHL standards. Plus, if you're going to have teams there, that are going to need to skate, there's a lot of moving in stuff, moving out of stuff, and we all know how tough it is to do that in San Francisco. The one place I could see them doing, if they were to do this, there's this place, I think out at Candlestick Point, they were talking about putting like a mini arena, and it would be a perfect spot to have Sharks Ice at Candlestick Point. I mean, that's probably your one spot that you could have your practice facility out there. But all in all, I mean, I can't see them going to San Francisco unless, and this is the only thing I can think of, unless they go in as an equal partner with the Warriors.
And the Warriors will never let that happen.
No way that's happening.
That's the only way I could possibly see them go to San Francisco.
The only way, yeah, but that's only, and the only way that would happen is if Plattner and whoever else is involved decides to foot half the bill for all the costs and blah blah blah.
Well, that's the point.
But the whole thing would have to be double branded, and no, never going to happen. And I think even you might even talk about their television deal, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't see the Sharks moving. San Jose has embraced that team. They'd be fools to relocate to San Francisco at this point. Another point to consider is the Shark Tank is going to be home to 2 hockey teams next season. It remains to be seen if it'll be any longer than that. Of course, attendance will probably determine that, or what other options are to locate the AHL team. But I think a lot of it also depends on how well the AHL team draws next season. And I think they have a shot at drawing fairly well considering what the Sharks have shown this season. I know a lot of fans, starting from being up 3-0 over LA to now, a lot of fans are very dejected about this team, and I think they'd be a little more excited to pay a little less money and root a little harder for a team that you can really, minor league teams are fun to watch. Sometimes you see guys, you might not see the skill level that you expect, but a lot of times you'll will over skill, and you'll see that a lot. So, which also leads us into something that I think we need to discuss. Are the Sharks going to be on this road trip? Or no, I should change the question. Will the Sharks return home from the road trip before we find out the name of the new fucking NHL team or AHL team? Excuse me.
I'm kind of at the point where I don't even want to hear about it until I actually hear the new name. I'm of the whole thing.
How Brody tweeted out like over a week ago. Maybe it might have been like a week and a half ago.
I think it was after he was on here with us.
Yeah, that we should be knowing about it soon, and he tweeted that out. I think like on a Wednesday or Thursday. That all the other teams had announced the team names, had shown off logos and everything, and we're still here almost 2 weeks later, still haven't announced a name, a logo, colors, anything like that, and we're it's March 19th. If you remember correctly, when they had the press conference about relocating these teams west, they had announced that, it should be, you should know the name of the team, at the very least, the name of the team by the end of the month. And that month was February. And we're essentially 11 days, 12 days from the end of March, and we still don't know. There's still been no announcement. I don't know what the hell they're waiting on. Just I guess they're too busy putting together ads trying to suck me into putting down a deposit for season tickets next year so I can be guaranteed of playoff tickets this year.
Speaking of which,
tickets for this year.
Speaking of which, I actually picked my seats out for potential playoff tickets, which I think is before you laugh,
dude. Okay, dude. Okay, we give you shit about your AOL address, but come on, man, you're making it too easy.
My point though is, while that's wishful thinking, and I still believe. My point is that it's actually pretty cool that they finally let us pick where the hell I can sit when I start screaming with my white rally towel because Teal doesn't show up.
When they said they were going to show you where to sit, did they follow that up with and spin?
Oh, you're so funny.
See, they could double and triple promise the same seats though. Be like, oh yep, that seat's available. They're all available.
They're all available for the right price. The right price. You can sit on Doug's lap while you stroke Joe's ego.
I thought you were gonna go Rooster there, but
same thing.
Yeah, when we say after dark, we really mean after dark. Well, okay.
Oh my goodness, we've gone over the end. Let's.
Okay. Anyways, back on topic. I don't remember what it was, but back on topic.
It was about relocating the Sharks to San Francisco. I say not going to happen. At least it's just not going to happen. Will the Sharks get a new arena built in San Jose in the next 10 years? At least something started. Remains to be seen, but I think the likelihood of that happening is far greater than them relocating to SF, especially if it has to be in someone else's building.
I think it's going to take a compelling monetary reason for them to do so, because my understanding from talking to people, the organizational mantra is they treat it like it's a new building. And honestly, it's a pretty decent building. I mean, that is the mantra, though, is that You don't treat it like a dusty old crappy building. You treat it like it's a good one, and it's still a pretty damn good building. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
The only thing, there's one thing wrong with it. It doesn't have enough corporate suites. That's what's wrong with it to the ownership. That's the problem.
That would be the compelling thing.
That building got built just before Staples, where then it became wow, look at all the money we can make off of these corporate boxes, and that's the problem between their shitty TV deal and not having enough corporate boxes. That's the reason why they're pissed off about that arena. It's the only reason. It's still 21 years later. It's still a gorgeous facility to walk around in. It's they can say whatever the fuck they want. My only negative about the Shark Tank is they don't keep it cold or dry enough. They need better AC and they need more dehumidifiers so they can ice a better sheet of ice so the puck doesn't look like it's a crazy ball. But other than that,
now what about this? What if they were to renovate it in the coming future? I mean, we would have had the perfect opportunity when they were on the road for like forever at the beginning of the season or something. But what about renovations? Maybe it would take some serious renovations to amend some of those issues, but maybe that's a better option than building a brand new stadium.
I don't think you can renovate it in the way that you're adding more luxury boxes. To me, bringing in AC and dehumidifiers, that's okay. Well, we have to cut it a little bit into a couple of the parking spaces to get the equipment out here. But I just don't see you able to renovate it. At least not to satisfy the corporate honchos. The only thing you can do is what? Raise the roof and add another layer of penthouse suites? I mean, that's...
Raise the roof?
That's right, raise the roof, baby. That's the only thing I can see happening, and like I said, it's not going to happen. All I know is that I can go to a Sharks game, whether it's beginning of the season, middle of the season, end of the season, and I can go down and watch pregame skate in a t-shirt and shorts and stand up against the glass while watching them take pregame skate, and I'm not cold, and that's a problem. That's a big fucking problem.
But now, I've been to a lot of other arenas. Is it usually pretty cold inside of most arenas? Obviously to an extent, but I haven't been to enough other arenas and thought about it enough to really contrast. Have either of you?
I've never been to another NHL arena, but I have family that live in Colorado, and they say the Pepsi Center is pretty damn cold. But then again, when you're a mile high, it's a little easier to keep things dry and cold.
Yeah, it is a little different there. I haven't been to the Pepsi Center, but I've been to is that the one in I'm blanking right now.
Minnesota?
I've been to a few. I've been to Chicago. I've been to Minnesota. Yeah, none of them really stood out to me as particularly cold or that much different than the Shark Tank. But it's I would have to probably actively go in there and think about that.
Well,
plus,
I think
most of the places are just colder in general.
But the dehumidifiers, no, that's the big thing, is getting that room dry.
Yeah, definitely. No, absolutely. Again, you guys reiterated a point. I see nothing wrong with the Shark Tank. I mean, yes, they scrambled to get it hockey friendly, which is why we have to sit back in our seats and not lean forward. That's fine and dandy. I don't give a flying fuck as long as everybody else is, following the rules. The amenities are fine. I mean, what? Do we need to update our scoreboard to, match up with Tampa and Colorado's and Minnesota's big-ass things that they have now?
No, I loved the update that they did with the LED ribbon and the high-def boards. I thought that was fantastic.
Well, the ribbons, that's pretty much standard. But now, I mean, Colorado, Minnesota, and Tampa have like the mini version of the Dallas Cowboys stadiums. Yeah. Where it's just vivid. And I don't think you even need that.
Don't need that. No, don't need that at all. Yeah, I do love... The other thing that I also love what they did with the Shark Tank recently was taking those signs on the concourse, those V signs that are used, are generally advertisements, and changing those to, that it actually shows the game when you're walking around so you don't miss anything. That I thought was fucking genius. That was a great idea. That's something that the 49ers need to think about doing. I don't know if you walked around the concourse at a 49er game. They got TVs the size of about a fucking postage stamp on the post. It's like, why bother? So what was the fucking point? What was the point? But I got no problem with the LED ribbon, and I'm very happy that they made those changes. And they also clearly made significant changes to the audio there, because I remember the audio at the tank used to suck out loud. It was always anything on the low end distorted, ridiculous, and anything high, it was like it was all mids. Anything high in the high frequencies was always, instead of it was always, and anything low end was just nothing but distortion.
Yeah. So speaking of the postage stamps and the 49ers, want to get into Chris Borland and all that fun stuff next?
Sure. Why don't we touch up on that? As many people know, the Niners have been going through a plethora of people not wanting to be with the Niners anymore. But the surprising retirement of 24-year-old Chris Borland after one season in the NFL, just because, I don't want to say just because, but the concern of concussions and massive head trauma going on with in the game. And we all know hockey is just as violent sport, maybe sometimes even more violent, with the way that you're traveling around it and the speed with the skating and flying elbows, like we saw with Nazem Kadri earlier this week in Edmonton. So I'll throw this out to you guys. Do you think you could see I mean, we already had that concern about the concussions and headshots over the last few years, but could you see more and more youngsters leaving the game due to the fact of the concern for head trauma?
I think actually it could become more prevalent in hockey faster than in the NFL. Part of that is because hockey is an affluence. It tends to be more affluent oriented, just because of how expensive it is to get into that. And I don't know Chris Borland's background financially and all that, but I would bet that since he's walking away, he's probably not. I would say not. I'm sure he'd love to have millions of dollars, but he's probably not in a situation where he has to have it to go forward. And there's many other players I'm sure that way. But I think in the NFL, you can come from a very poor background and make it big in the NFL. I know hockey is trying to reach out to more underserved communities, but a big thing is it's definitely a more affluent sport. And I think we might actually see the NHL this happen quicker than it happens in the NFL. I think there's always going to be players, I think, at least for the foreseeable future. But I think this is a pattern we're going to start seeing. I don't know if you all read about Jeremy Roenick. There was an article I saw a few months ago where he's talking about how he will randomly just forget a name of an acquaintance he's known all his life, or things like that. Just some really kind of frightening things. He played really tough and all that. So I think this is probably the beginning of this type of stuff. I think we're gonna see it more and more often in all the sports. I think basketball maybe to a lesser extent because I think it's less head oriented, but I think this is probably the start of something. I don't mean that thinking wise. I just mean you're not bashing. You're not bashing against other people.
Yeah, no. You're talking basketball. Where the guy gets a cramp in his little toe and he's out for 2 weeks.
And he gets carried off on a stretcher.
Yeah, exactly. No, for me, it's look at where we are. Just in wow, I'm not going on a rant, people. I'm just about to take you down under. I'm about to get really deep now. You look at where we are just as a society, and it's all about Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and social media and the whole look at me generation. It's all about me, the entitlement generation. And you know what that means? It's all about make that fucking dollar. There's a reason why Johnny Manziel does this shit all the fucking time. And especially if you grow up in a poor community that not affluent whatsoever. You're going to see it's like certain people getting into the rap game to try to make that money, and that's all it is. Hockey, it's a different mindset. Canada, the Europeans. There's a reason why the vast majority of hockey players are from those regions, whereas football, it's U.S., it's entitlement, it's make money, money, money. And Chris Borland, I think, is going to be an anomaly. It's you've got a guy who's got a college degree, who clearly seems to be well thought, well spoken, has his shit together. That can't be said for the vast majority of NFL players, former NFL players, even the greats. You listen to Jerry Rice or Michael Irvin or Deion Sanders. These are guys that were so proficient. Deion Sanders, probably the best corner to ever play the league, despite what Richard Sherman wants. Jerry Rice, Jerry Rice, the best receiver to ever play the game. Have you ever listened to these guys try to speak? It's not worth listening to a lot of the times, because they can't get a sentence out. You want a real good example, and I hate to promote it, but try listening to the morning show on 95.7. They have a former NFL guy on there who wrestles with the English language on a daily basis. It just
what wrestling with English language, AJ? What wrestling with English language?
Exactly. My favorite, the fact that they had a commercial running. I was listening to Damon not too long ago, and they ran a sound bite from the morning show. Lorenzo Neal saying, "What makes Steve Kerr so great?" And I'm like, "Are you fucking serious? Like, you don't even call him out when he can't speak the language, and then you're gonna turn around and you're gonna soundbite that shit, and you're gonna promote the fact that he's illiterate? Really? This is not what you need to have out there." But it goes back to the whole thing of, you know what? When you got enough money, I can be as stupid as I want to be. Perfect example, Aubrey Huff.
I was gonna say Aubrey Huff.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Like I said, Borland's going to be an anomaly, I think. But as I say, I think it's because he's a really smart guy. So
when I say I think it's going to be more common, I don't think it's going to be like more than like maybe 5%, if even that. Like, I think it's going to be maybe to extend an anomaly in the sense of it's going to be still a vast minority. But I think it's going to happen more often, because, I mean, I can't think of anyone else like 10 years ago who just walked away. Especially like not just someone who walked away because, they're like, well, I might make a roster, I'm going to just walk away now. It's usually, Borland wasn't just going to make the roster. He was slated to start, and he just came off an extremely successful rookie season. I do think we're going to see it happen more often. I just don't think. No, do not think it will be the majority. I agree with you.
Well, and how bad do the Niners have to be freaking the fuck out? Because this is the guy they had slated to take over essentially for either Willis or Bowman. I mean, the Niners literally have to be going, it can't, I don't know. Show me how it can get any worse for the Niners. You know what? At this point, I'm expecting Kaepernick to have a season-ending knee injury in Game 2 of the preseason.
See, even with like the two 13 seeds winning or whatever it was today, I think the Niners are still messed up more than most people's brackets. Like,
oh, that's what I was waiting for. Oh, hey. Okay.
Yeah, speaking of which, see, I didn't even waste any time filling out a bracket. Because I'm like, I guarantee you, by the end of the first day, my bracket will be fucked beyond belief. And it would have been. There you go. So, yay, have fun like the 0.1% of America that still has a working bracket.
Who is it?
Hold on. That would be, hold on, we have to answer the door. Oh, look at that. It's the Calgary Flames. They've come to tell us they're up 4-1 on Philadelphia with 5 minutes left in the third. So the news just gets worse for the Sharks.
However, the Neon Buggers, also known as the Columbus Blue Jackets, have come back from a 2-0 deficit to tie the Vancouver Canucks 2-2 about 6 minutes ago in the second period.
Yeah, but Calgary and Winnipeg were the teams that needed to lose more than Vancouver.
Agreed, but you take any of those three, one of them just has to, fall through the cracks, and all of a sudden San Jose's right back in it.
Hey,
And right back in it, you mean the 9 seed.
Well, and he said falling through the cracks. Hey, speaking of cracks, have you seen John's wife?
Oh.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
I just had to inject that in there. Hey, okay, so
Oh my gosh.
we usually have my little rant, and so I didn't put anything together. There's just one thing that came to mind, and I don't know if you were following along with the Twitter machine, but we have a beat writer who's normally pretty good. His name is David Pollock. Today, David Pollock. Either he started drinking, or either he is in San Jose, he's not on the road trip, and he's not paying attention, or he's in Toronto, and he's having hallucinations from the top of that little needle that they have there. I forget, what is that, the Rogers Tower or whatever?
The CN Tower.
There you go, CN Tower. Either way, Pollock, I don't know what the fuck he was smoking today. First off, he tweeted out incorrect lines, but I'd give him a pass on that because it seemed like nobody knew what the fucking lines were.
Right.
Then secondly, he tweets out after the first period. Now, and you also have to, a lot of these guys, whether it's Kurz, whether it's McKeon, whether it's Pollock, whoever, they all kind of tweet somewhat the same stuff around the same time, and they usually give you a synopsis of what happened after every intermission. McKeon tweets out, Sharks basically had shots on goals, but still 0 for 3 on the power play, blah, blah, blah. And so that's McKeon. And then Kurz basically says the same thing. Pollock comes on and says, out shooting, blah, blah, blah. Bad stat for the night. The Sharks are 0 for 4. It's like, does this guy know something we don't? Because there's only been 3 power play. Were we supposed to score on Toronto's power play as well, and he's giving them credit for it? So I don't know about that. And then during the first period of the game, they showed highlights from a wedding that took place at Air Canada Centre today. After the Sharks' morning skate, we had some contest winners apparently who won a contest to have their wedding at center ice of ACC. Now, if you can find the woman that is willing to do that, fucking marry her, like tomorrow, because that's huge. You don't find a lot of women that will make their day on ice. So,
well, this is Canada, though. Keep that in mind. This is Canada.
In Toronto.
However,
this is Toronto. This is a hockey fucking central. But and I know it's nitpicky, but I expect more from people who have that are affiliated with the Mercury News or on TV or have articles published by CSN. It's the fact that he tweets out there was if you didn't hear, there was a wedding today at Center Ice, blah blah blah. The bride and groom wore white, and I went, what? And I rewound it because I remember watching that and just laughing at it. And I went back and looked, and no, the bride was wearing white, a white jersey, but the person performing the ceremony was in a blue jersey. The husband was in a blue jersey. All the brides or the groomsmen were in blue jersey. I'm like, what the fuck is it's like, dude, are you really just phoning this in? Like, attention to detail. Fuck, we done. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I just have a little more attention to detail, but I don't know. Pollock just seemed to be having a bad day, and usually he's pretty good. And he's the one that broke the whole Thornton Wilson thing. So I don't know. I expect a little bit more from him.
Doesn't bridegroom mean another way of saying the groom? That's what I thought it meant.
Well, even if that's what he was saying, he still got it wrong. He said the bridegroom wore white, and he was wearing a blue jersey.
Oh, okay.
I think it was that he saw the video earlier where somebody was opening up the veil and was handing them off over to the groom. That, my friends, is the wedding.
Well, hold on. He said, it's nitpicking to the third degree, but no,
much farther than third.
Yeah, but like I said, though, I expect more from him. He's usually a pretty good guy, but my whole thing was he said bridegroom wore white jerseys, So he must have meant bride and groom both wore white jerseys.
Right.
I mean, I can see if he said bridegroom wore white jersey. So
Maybe add some fermented maple syrup before the game or something.
it could
And
be.
remember, he had some issues with figuring out the Twitter machine early on when he was on Twitter. So maybe he had another relapse or something. I don't know.
This just goes to show
I
how much I
didn't
didn't.
really like Pollock, so
This just goes to show how much I really didn't have to rant about today. So that's what I kind of fell on. I was just being nitpicky. What are you gonna do? But
scraping the bottom of that maple syrup barrel, eh?
yeah, I'm straight from the bottom. But McKeon has just tweeted out that says win by Sharks pulls them within 4 of the Kings, but they fall out of a spot once the Flames finish off the Flyers. So that's fait accompli. But LA does not have a very easy schedule either. They're facing the Rangers soon. They're on the road, and I believe it's the second of back-to-backs. So the next week and a half could be interesting, but the Sharks have to do their job. If they don't do their job, it really doesn't matter.
Right, they have to keep up with everything that goes. I gotta do my standings really quick. What was the other thing? The other thing, too, that Pollock mentioned on Twitter today was the Toronto Star had talked about the whole captaincy thing and mentioned in parentheses that Pavelski was the captain, which made a bunch of people on Twitter jump really quickly saying, wait, is this actually happening? We're actually naming Pavelski captain right before you take on the team that plays in the hockey capital of the world, guys. I mean, I'm sure it was just an editorial comment, but it made a lot of people jump for a moment that something was going down captaincy-wise.
I don't even know who. Okay, let's just take this a step forward, shall we? We both know that Thornton and Marleau are signed for the next 2 seasons. Both have no movement clauses. And we have direct quote from Doug Wilson from the GM meetings in Boca that Thornton isn't going anywhere. So if that
is my coach, Jed York.
Yeah, that's true. That is a great fucking point. But if in fact, Thornton isn't going anywhere, okay, well then that brings us another question. If you're not going to fucking do it this season, are you going to do it next season? So we don't have to listen to Winnipeg ask, who's your captain? When are the Sharks going to name a fucking captain? Are they going to wait until Thornton and Marleau are gone in 2 seasons?
They just need to do it like we need to stop this bullshit and just be like everybody else in the NHL and name a captain next season. It doesn't have to be this season because at this point it doesn't matter anymore. But next season, don't come out of fucking training camp without naming a damn captain. Name in the off seasons, name it. Just let's get rid of this stupid, completely manufactured distraction. It's just, only for the reason, that one reason. Just name someone so we aren't talking about this bullshit every other week.
Yeah, I mean, it's over and over and over again. Name a damn captain. Come to a conclusion. I don't care if it's the players that vote. Doug supposedly wants Pavelski, according to Damian Cox of Sportsnet. And Todd was like, I'm not sold on that, blah, 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 blah. I mean, don't give me that. We're assuming Calgary just went finals, so Calgary wins 4-1. So now we can officially update the standings as we speak. Calgary now leapfrogs Los Angeles and gets back into the number 3 spot in the Pacific with 83 points. Winnipeg also wins, so they're back into the wild card hunt, which puts the Kings on the odd man out. They sit 4 points ahead of the Sharks with a game in hand. The Sharks are matching Winnipeg, Minnesota, and Calgary in games played. Vancouver has 2 games somehow again, but they'll be down to 1 after their game goes final. So we're just waiting on that pretty much on what will decide this standings for the evening. So 11 games left. That equals 22 points. That would get them to 100. So you're saying there's a chance?
Sure.
I mean, come on.
Well,
How
you
many times-
got to pick out your seat. You'll be laughing at everyone else when you picked out your seat in advance. Like, ah!
Ah! Hey, you know what? Even though you guys were making fun of me earlier, still.
Oh, it wasn't earlier. We do it. It's constantly. But
You said it earlier like it's a thing in the past. It's ongoing.
Oh.
For fuck's sake.
All right, getting back to what we're supposed to be doing. Any other topics you guys want to cover tonight?
Just for shits and giggles, I think it's funny. The Sabercats just tweeted out a photo that I sent to you guys, and it's just saying that it's tied at 20 between the Sabercats and the LA Kiss. The second half is sure to be, sure to be a battle. In this photo,
my God!
Yeah, you look at the people in the sitting in the stands in the photo. I DJ'd for more people last week. Okay, this is the holy crap.
I give him crap about having an AOL address. You follow the Sabercats.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a South Bay guy, and I was a season ticket holder for the first 2 seasons that they were here. So I keep an eye on them just to see what's going on. But you know what? Hey, they're the only fucking San Jose team that has like 3 championships in 5 seasons in the South Bay.
Yeah.
And they did it before the Giants. But
And this has to be a preseason game, right?
yeah, it's preseason. Well, that's what I was asking. I'm like, is that because if that's the whole thing. The fact that you had to fucking ask when you saw that few people, and you're going, I wonder if that's preseason. But yeah, I looked it up. Their regular season doesn't start for like a week and a half. But anyway, I got a kick out of that.
You got the soundboard right, AJ? What do you call 100 people at SAP Center? The Sabercats game.
Oh.
There you go. Thank you.
I thought you were going to save the Sharks fantasy for a day when you see Brody take a dive.
Oh, actually, what I was going to say is it's the people that picked out their seats that are there expecting the playoff to start when game 8.
Thank you.
But I mean, I actually had a lot of time. I know they were only here for like 3 seasons, but I actually enjoyed myself a lot going to San Jose Rhinos games. Those were a blast.
Oh, Rhinos were awesome.
Yeah, they were cheap, but they were fun. The one thing, though, somebody got me free tickets. A bunch of us went, and we got fuckered. Was what was the indoor soccer team that they had for like a cup of coffee?
The San Jose Grizzlies of the Continental Indoor Soccer League.
Was that? Oh dear God, I remember that. And then there was an ABL team that I guess played there for a season.
The Lasers.
Yeah, I never saw that, but it's so funny in the mid-90s.
I actually went to several Lasers games, but that's because my sister was a big basketball fan. My parents took us there.
I just remember in the mid-90s, or mid to late 90s, it was like the Shark Tank was trying to fit every C and D level sport they could possibly fit into that fucking arena.
They had to fill it with soccer.
I know, but indoor soccer, at that time, wasn't the NBA, the WNBA and the ABL were like fractured, kind of like NFL versus USFL type of thing, and they were just between the Rhinos and I don't know. It was just funny how they kept throwing in all this minor league stuff. But you know what? It was a lot. I look back on it, and I just I had a lot of fun going to those games because they were cheap, but they were entertaining. That's all that mattered.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, the Lasers played at San Jose State. They were supposed to have an all-star game at San Jose Arena, but the league folded like halfway through season 2. They were like the San Jose Bulls of women's basketball.
Well, and that's why I have a lot of hope for the minor league team playing at the Tank next year because I don't know why the Bulls couldn't do it. I don't know why the Spiders couldn't do it. Oh, wait, it's because all those games were in a fucking shithole in San Francisco. So hopefully, given the benefit of being in an actual decent venue, that's already in a pretty well done hockey market, you know, for California. But it's still you know, if the Sharks can do this well, and you've got Sharks Ice doing as well as it does with plans for expansion, and from what I remember, you know, the league schedule at Sharks Ice, it's constantly booked. Like, you have to get on a waiting list to get on a team there. So I have high hopes for the AHL team. I have higher hopes for finding out what their fucking name will be sometime in 2015. So,
Yep.
anyway, looking forward, boys, we have Montreal, and as we said at the top of the show, they should be looking for some huge payback for the embarrassment Carey Price was handed at the tank just a short couple of weeks ago. I think they can win it. They've proven they can beat these guys. Remains to be seen. Every time we think they should win a game or they have it, they find a way to piss it away. Luckily, they had Toronto tonight. Too bad we can't play Toronto for the next 10 games.
What you're saying is we don't need to pick against them. That way, they do exactly the opposite of what we all expect.
It's probably a good idea.
Yeah. They need to come out with
I think they can win if they keep the lineup the same.
Absolutely. No Scots allowed on the roster the rest of the year, and they might have a shot.
You know what? That's a good idea.
Playoff ticket.
That's a good idea for a T-shirt there, bro. No Scots allowed.
I still like "Shut Your Mouth, Doug."
Well, see, my personal favorite will always be "Bring Back Drew." That's always going to be the shirt that I'm going to get. Now, speaking of which, I hate to, okay, we'll do this offline, and if it's good enough, we'll use it in the next show. So,
okay.
Just remind me.
We still have a couple of things we're going to get to, most of which we'll talk about the tweet up. April 6th, that's Fan Appreciation Night. At the regular spot by the Sharks Foundation kiosk outside Section 118-120. So after you get your bobblehead from a Sharks employee, head up there, and then we'll gather one more time. That might possibly be the last time we all get together for a Sharks game this season. We do have a game coming up Saturday. That's at 4 p.m. against Montreal. That is a Hockey Night in Canada game, which I believe will be seen all over the place. So a huge game for them to keep this streak going. You know, the winning streak of 1 right now. But I think we all want to send our condolences and best to the family of Cap. Let me try to get this out again. Of Cap Geek founder Matthew West. He passed away today from his battle with colon cancer. The site, as you know, went down on January 12th after we heard some health issues were going down. It's a site that hasn't been replaced and probably will never be replaced, which is a sad thing. But Matthew had a hell of an effort of putting all that together, and that was a Herculean effort to get together. And it's sad that we've lost another member of the hockey family to cancer. And
his website was so incredibly deep and popular. I'm surprised that the NHL or maybe even TSN or somebody didn't come along to buy him out, because it just, whatever he had done up to that point, because it was so in depth and it was just a phenomenal website, that the outpouring of well wishes when the site went down was amazing, because there were so many people who came to that site every day to find out information about what was going on with their hockey team and their salary issues.
Right, and it's something that I think the league should look into, and with the Players Association, find some way to have it again, because it's a key thing. I mean, especially critical for like fantasy leagues, and just to know exactly where your team is at the cap. Because we could talk about right now how we're about $11 million under the cap. We don't know for sure. That's the whole point. So Matthew, may you rest in peace. Uh, Fuck cancer, and you will not be forgotten for sure. With that, we will end it here.
No.
No,
We have
you want to?
well, no, we're not going to end it just yet. Unfortunately, today's show, not too much in the way of interaction. Maybe we needed to promote it a little bit more or something, or maybe people were so elated that the Sharks actually won a fucking game, they just said, well, I'm not going to watch those guys, I'm going to have a drink, because St. Patrick's Day was such a bummer after that. But for those of you watching, please do us a favor, hit the subscribe button down there. Pucknology After Dark. Hit us up next time with the hashtags. We'll try to do a little bit better promoting early to get it talked out. But the interesting thing is, the one thing that we did receive on Twitter, which is fantastic, is we did get a photo submitted to us of Eric picking out his tickets for the playoffs. So this was sent to us. This is fantastic. They just they just showed it. So at least the Sharks are sitting there holding it for him while he looks at the tickets. And then when he wants to buy, I think you know how that goes. But at least that did come across on the Twitter machine. That seriously, Eric, they'll give you any ticket you want. Go ahead.
I'm in section 211, row 11, seats 1 and 2.
We shall see. We shall see.
Game A. I'm looking forward to it. Sharks don't let me down. Because that
I got some Enron stock if you want to buy it.
Oh, sweet. I'm sure I could get it really cheap right now.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to go up soon.
Oh,
it's a steal, if you will.
Hey, you guys are asses. Thanks a lot. And by the way, Generation X-Wing, thank you for the movie recommendations of Mary Poppins, which is actually my mom's favorite movie. Pollyanna, I never really got into the Haley Mills collection, but thank you for that idea.
Final thing on the Twitter machine before we get out of here, from Hannah, she says the NHL isn't interested in Cap Geek because only the media would use it and the fans don't want it, according to Bettman. And when it comes to someone knowing what NHL fans want, I think we all can say that Bettman has his finger on the pulse of my asshole, so he can kiss it.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, Bettman knows exactly what the fans want. It's like, let me see. I'm predicting, finger to win. I think they want another lockout in about 3 or 4 years. They love that shit.
Yep.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah. The fans don't want it. It's just that. Can we see the amount of traffic Cap Geek got during a regular hockey season? How the fuck has been? Honestly, we need to get to a point in sports, and maybe this is a conversation for another time. Whether it was Bud Selig, who clearly overstayed his welcome, whether it was Paul Tagliabue, and at this point Gary Bettman, how do we not have term limits when it comes to commissioners? Because clearly,
this is a topic for another time.
Yeah, but absolute power corrupts absolutely, and Bettman is an absolute douchebag. So we need to discuss that.
Yeah, we can get into that.
Anyway, how much Bettman sucks, but we could save that for once the season's over, hopefully in June.
Okay, if you guys, just to let you know, if you guys hook up on Saturday after Montreal, I unfortunately will be out because I will be working that night, but feel free to come by and have a beer afterward.
And I will actually be at Holiday Scratch Saturday night. Well, maybe I'll join from mobile, who knows. But I am spending the weekend in San Diego. Actually, I will be chilling out at least part of that time with one of our regular watchers here, Eric Landy.
Nice.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Nice. So I guess I'm gonna be doing it. I'm gonna be flying solo. I'll be flying solo unless I find someone that wants to co-host the show if Gentry's not available. Okay. You guys will go have fun. So
Wait! I have a joke for this. I have a joke for this. You'll be like you in your playoff seats, all by yourself. Oh, sorry. I had to.
Oh, excuse me. I'll add my own sound effect. Hey, Chris's jokes! You suck! Thank you.
This is where AJ should have played the crickets noise.
Yeah, well, you guys are...
Anyway,
Anyways, one more thing from Hannah. The Montreal Canadiens have have formed a partnership with the Montreal Stars of the Canadian, or the CWHL. I don't want to say it's Canadian Women's Hockey League and be incorrect. We do care because I think we recall after the '98 Olympics how there was some talk about having a WNHL. I think this is the first step that we take into consideration of having such, and I think that would be such a great idea, especially in big, major hockey hotbed markets. I don't think you put one in Florida or anything. Having like Boston, Montreal, Toronto, Calgary maybe, or Vancouver. I mean, just something like that would be actually something nice to see, rather than having all these great women hockey players essentially into retirement or playing overseas to continue their hockey dreams.
All right, well.
But with that, since I think that's it.
No, we found
you got more.
No, it's just that I located your opening track for Saturday. I'm feeling like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm flying, climb down, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm riding solo, I'm riding solo, I'm riding solo, solo. That's right, he's riding solo, kids.
While these two go get wasted, I'm hoping we're going to play this theme again, but with that, we will close it out. Sharks win 4-1 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sharks win. They keep their slim hopes alive. I will at least connect with you on Saturday, and until then, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh. Puck cancer. Good night, everybody.